I'm going to show you how to make 4 different deli sandwiches, and the first one's going to be a club. And I started by making the bread first, which is translucent and white clay. Then I rolled it out and made 2 squares that are going to be the pieces of bread. Then I rounded off the corners, and to make it look like it was baked, I added chalk to the edges, and I started with a light yellow and then a darker brown. And to texture the bread, I used a piece of sandpaper that's really rough, and I just pressed it into the bread. I used a light green color to make the lettuce, and I just picked off pieces and then smashed it with a big ball tool, and then I added the pieces of lettuce to each slice of bread. I mixed red and brown clay to make bacon slices, and I'm just gonna cut them and then shape them kind of in a curly snake-like shape, and then I'm just gonna press 3 pieces onto 1 slice of bread, and then I'm gonna use red clay to make little tomatoes, and they don't have to be perfect because you'll only see the edges of them. And then I made a turkey color by mixing red and translucent clay, and this is what the sandwich looks like when it's put together. And now I'm just gonna cut it in half and then texture the inside of the bread because it gets kind of smashed when you cut it. And I'm just using a needle tool to texture it. Now I'm going to make a baguette sandwich, and I'm going to start by making the bread, and I'm just going to roll out some ecru colored clay, which is kind of like tan, and now I'm going to mark where the indents are going to go, and then I'm going to use a razor blade to cut them out. And then you want to smooth the indents, and then after you do that, you want to use a piece of sandpaper to add texture and chalk to make it look like it's been baked again. And I used a lighter color in the center and a darker color on the edges. And then once you're finished adding color, you want to cut it in half. And I'm using a dark green color for the lettuce. And I'm using a light pink, a red, and a brown color to make the beef. And to make it look like it's been peppered, I'm dipping it in ballast, which I found in the railroad section at Hobby Lobby for like miniature trains, and it's supposed to look like dirt, but it also looks like pepper. And then I'm just gonna slice it and put it on the sandwich. And to make the camembert cheese, I'm using a vanilla colored clay that's made by Fimo, and I'm texturing the top. To make the rind of the cheese, I used white acrylic paint, and then I sliced it once it was finished drying. You want the slices to look like tiny wedges, but they don't have to be perfect. And actually, the messier they look, the more realistic they'll look. To make the Reuben sandwich, I started by making the rye and pumpernickel swirled bread, and I'm just using brown and tan clay, and then I'm gonna roll it into kind of like a cinnamon roll shape. And then once I rolled it all together, I added another piece of tan clay on top. Then I rolled it out just a little bit to make sure they were all pressed together. And then once you have a loaf, you just want to use the same chalks to make the outside look baked again. And now I'm just